Hi Dennis, thanks for meeting me today even though it's a Friday. I've just printed this out because I just came across this core principles of learning at the professional development site on Blackboard.
Right.
And I remember doing it for CT, but I just realized that there has been some changes to it. So would you mind spending some time just taking me through some of these principles? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so
yeah.
maybe we can start off with number one.
Okay.
Motivational strategies are incorporated into the design of learning experiences. Maybe you can help me understand what are motivational strategies.
Okay, think about that.
Right.
Do you like doing things that you find boring?
Of course not.
Right.
You mean like watching Spurs?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good example. Okay, now think about this. When students come into classes,
Right.
a lot of things that they have to learn may not be inherently interesting
Of
to
course,
us.
yes.
You know, learning things like stating Newton's law of motion or memorizing.
But it's important.
Yeah, that's right, it's important. So that's what makes teaching such a challenging thing, because it's so important that people do memorize important things and,
Right.
as we'll see a little bit later, understand things and are able to do things.
Right.
So the real challenge for teaching is a couple of things. One is, can we simplify things, which will come out later, but can we make that learning experience as interesting as it can possibly be for those students? Can we connect it to things that they like doing in some way? Can we take away some of the boredom of learning stuff? So to approach the design of your lessons and teach in ways that make that experience more interesting, there's something called intrinsic motivation. I like playing football.
Right.
You like watching football.
I actually like playing just as much, yeah.
But the basic thing is we don't need to be told or forced to do those things.
Okay.
We will play for, even though we don't get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars like the professionals, we will turn out on a hot sweaty day in Singapore, or I used to turn out on a cold day in England, because I like doing it. Now I think it's unrealistic to expect all students to go into all classes and say, oh, I really want to learn geography or biology tonight. The challenge as teachers, can we make it as interesting as possible? So that's the aspect of motivational strategies. What can we bring into the classroom? Different examples, stories, and a whole range of things that might make that learning experience more engaging and get better attention.
So what you're saying is I really need to get to know my students to maybe what really motivates them, or what is it that they really like to do without much prompting, and maybe try and structure learning experiences around that. Is that considered motivational principles?
Right, exactly. As we'll see when we go through the other principles, that all the principles are actually connected. And this kind of motivational strategy thing runs across pretty much everything we do with teaching. I think it was the public speaker Zig Ziglar who once said that motivation is a bit like bathing. We need it daily. So it's always something to bear in mind. Can we make this lesson or parts of that lesson more interesting rather than boring? And that is a tremendously difficult thing to do. And it's maybe where creative teaching actually lies, in that ability to make things that are fairly mundane and boring actually quite interesting and engaging.
Even for me as well as for the lecturer as well, not only just for the students.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, to some extent, I've often said to people, if you're a boring teacher, not only do you bore the students, but it's boring for you.
Exactly.
So to be a creative teacher, as we'll see later, is something that certainly will enhance student learning, and there's a real evidence base for this. But also, it makes your job more interesting and challenging, because every single class will pose some challenge where you have to say to yourself, can I make this experience more interesting or less painful and boring? It's a real biggie.
I'll take note of that.